Within the atheist community and naysayers and critics of the faith, there's often a conversation about how God is not fair. He isn't fair because he doesn't set us all up in the same circumstance to know him. And so everybody doesn't have an equal chance to be saved. I hear about this. The suggestion is that a person who is born to Orthodox Islamic parents in Afghanistan does not have the same chance to know Jesus as a kid born in a Southern Baptist home. So therefore, there's this built-in destiny of all people. That's brought up. People are destined for hell because God does not let everybody experience the same thing. And as a means to explain why some are born into homes of Christian families and some are born into homes of atheist or radical Islam or whatever, we have come up with all kinds of very limited ways to understand it. And what we've said is like, and I remember what we've said is if a person doesn't hear of Jesus and they die without hearing of Jesus, they go to hell forever and ever and ever. And so they say that radical Islam kid who was born to radical Islam parents, he grows up, he never hears Jesus. And then the Christians will say, and we know God will have a way to reach them, and has for the past 2,000 years. He's had a way to reach them and bring them to him for them to claim Jesus' name while they're alive. But if they don't, it's bye-bye, fathead. So I think these things have been inferior. I don't think they're a superior way to understand God. And while what I'm about to illustrate on our board of direction is a theory of mine, it's a theory. Understand that. I think it's a good theory. All right? So let me explain it. From believers, we often hear limiting stuff like, well, if a person doesn't say Jesus before they die, they burn in hell forever. And we say, well, what if they have never ever even heard of him? In the 1650s, there's a guy born in Africa, and that's burn in hell. What if they were born to parents who are Buddhists and they died when they were 9? Burn in hell. And so could it be that God is in control of all this stuff and brings all people around to him? And I'm not preaching universalism. Jesus Christ is the only way. So get that straight. Not all roads lead to heaven. But could it be that God, he uses ways that are unfathomable to us, and we have filled in that gap with stuff that's fathomable and made a mistake? So I was talking about the possibilities with my daughter Delaney the other day, and we were talking about, what if God, not just here on this earth, but after this life too, possibly, we don't, but even in the great beyond, takes every single person's life circumstances into full account? What if God takes every individual's parents into account, their intelligence, their weaknesses, their strengths, their proclivities, their experiences, their trials, their blessings, the geography in which they grew up, the culture they grew up, their temperament, their education, their fears, their mistakes, their sorrows, their injustices, their accidents, their illnesses, even their diet, even the media influences upon them, and he puts them on a grand scale, and he says, this is that individual's sum total of human experience. I understand it fully. And he has some sort of built-in system that after he assesses all that, he shines a perfectly just amount of light upon each individual to know him in an equal way as everybody else. So what I mean by that is, let's say that somebody here is born with very, very little access. We could say this person is born with, he's a truth seeker. And you can see he's taller and he's closer to God. So maybe God shines just a little tiny bit of his light to that truth seeker because he's had every opportunity given to him by parents and everything else to know Christ. And God says, this is the amount that will fairly reach you. And maybe over here to this little guy or this one, this guy is really not had much of a chance to know the true and loving, living God. So let's say he was born to 5-point Calvinist family. I'm just kidding. Not really. But, or let's say that he's an atheist, okay? Parents and all sorts of things. God, he pours down tons of light to that one to bring him up, to help him. God used his light to bring him, and then it's commensurate with everybody else. This guy gets, that much, and this one gets quite a bit more. And Suzanne's friend over here, he's got a lot of problems with the flesh. And so God says, this is Shawn, really. And so God says, I'm going to give him quite a bit more, even though he's pretty tall. He's had a lot of opportunities. His parents were Baptists, but his flesh is, God, we say these things as if it's up to us. No, you're going right to hell, when we don't take in the experiences and we don't take any of that into account. And I think that's just another way to consider, as a theory, that possibly God is better than we think. And he's able to do things better than we are able to construct them.